Welcome to a new series for the MXA Wrecking Crew. This is our Living With series where we return back to our bikes and tell you guys what we've learned on them after a full season of riding and racing on them. This is our Suzuki RM-Z450. It has been ridden by Brian Medeiros. Brian from Hawaii, he loves the Suzuki RM-Z450. He spent a ton of time on this model. He knows the ins and outs of it. And we got some big topics to talk about on this bike. Yes, it is the heaviest bike. Yes, it is the slowest bike. Yes, it still has a Kickstarter and it's finished last in all of our 450 shootouts of recent years, but there's still good things about this bike, and we're going to tell you all the pros and cons about the RM-Z450. We got 5 good reasons why we like the RM-Z450. Starting off from the top, this thing is extremely durable. Brian will tell us more in just a second, but this thing is like a tank. It can stand the test of time. Yes, it is heavy, but it is also durable with that extra weight that it has. Also, we love the engine of the RM-Z450, a very user-friendly power character that's easy for most people to ride. Sometimes other brands in their 450s are a little bit slow off the bottom or too fast off the bottom. Either way, you kind of have to move the power around to make them easier to ride. RM-Z450, in stock form, this thing's actually very easy to ride. Also, we love the ergonomics. This foot pegs to seat to handlebars, that rider triangle, very comfortable on this bike. 4th reason, this thing stands out in the crowd. Bright yellow plastics look good. They look good on photos and videos for us. Also, it's got some pretty sharp styling on here. Suzuki RM-Z450 is kind of a modern look, honestly, even though this bike hasn't changed in the last 6 years. And the last topic, and the reason why we like this bike, is the price. Got the lowest MSRP of $9,199, but Suzuki dealers are willing to lower that price even more to get you on yellow. But do you actually save money when you buy an RM-Z450? Now that is a big question. Let's have Brian Medeiros help us out with it. Suzuki 450, everybody says you save money on this thing. Is it true?
It depends. You could go one of 2 ways. You could be smart with your money and upgrade just the essentials using the stock suspension components, or you could reinvent the wheel, try to turn this bike into a shootout winner, buying a pipe, triple clamps, different shock, and doing a lot of engine work. So it's really up to you.
So the biggest complaint about the Suzuki 450 when we get it in stock form is the suspension. And it just so happens that our Suzuki test rider also owns his own suspension company, Ikolu Suspension Co. Brian, what did you do to make the stock stuff work for you on the track?
Okay, so the stock stuff, the forks are actually really good. They're the same forks that come on the Honda, the Cowie, the Showa 49mm forks, which is a good platform. All of the complaints comes from the BFRC shop. I've spent a lot of time with the BFRC shop because, let's face it, if you're buying a Suzuki, you're trying to save money, so you're not trying to go buy a KYB shock. Through a lot of testing and a lot of time and development with this shock, we've come up with a pretty good solution that has worked across the board with a few of our customers that have good reviews on it, and it's definitely got potential, but it's a different way of going about it for sure.
The BFRC shock technology inside this thing actually comes from road racing, so it's completely different design internally, which is different for suspension tuners to work with, and it kind of gives a different feel on the track. Brian, you've put your Suzuki 250 shock on the 450, and you say that works pretty good, right? But then you're going into the point where you're spending more money rather than saving money, which is what you want to do on a Suzuki.
Yep. For me, I've rode this bike with this suspension. I put the 250 fork and shock, KYB fork and shock on this bike, and that, honestly, I can say is my favorite setup with the KYB front and rear. But I wanted to get it to where the stock stuff could work because I felt like there was a lot of room for improvement, and I wanted to get a good setting for the people who don't want to go out there and spend $4,000 or $5,000 on a set of suspension.
So Brian has been our Suzuki test rider for 2.5 years now. It's in his 3rd full season of riding, racing. He races the 250 at the Nationals, rides the 450 a lot at local races and for training in between. You got 30 hours on this thing. How durable are Suzuki?
So far, so good. I mean, I did have one major issue last year. I did bend a shift fork, but regarding wear parts, I'm still on the original chain slider, chain roller, chain guide, as well as original brake pads at 30 hours. The only thing I've had to change is basically engine oil and chain and sprockets.
Even the stock clutch, 30 hours.
Stock clutch, 30 hours.
Of course, this thing isn't completely stock. You can see we got some cool ride engineering parts on here, some fresh Dunlop MX34 tires. First circuit exhaust system. Brian, explain that a little bit more about the parts you added and what they're for.
Okay, so the ride engineering parts, we tested with Adrian, multiple test days. I told him I wanted to do one part at a time. I didn't want to throw everything at it. So we started off with the most problematic area for me, which was the linkage, because this bike is known for a stink bug feel. And for me being short, I really don't like that feel. So Adrian's ride engineering link arm helped that, brought the rear end down 8 millimeters. I'm able to run a higher sag number without the feeling of being stink bug or having the rear end too low with 110 millimeters sag. The next part we added was Ride Engineering's 22 millimeter offset triple clamps. Stock is 21.5 millimeters and Adrian's are 22. At first I thought, what's the difference between 21.5 and 22 millimeters? But after putting these clamps on and riding them a lot at multiple different tracks, they made a huge difference. I've had to completely change my fork height, fork setup, but it was all for the better. These ride engineering clamps made a huge difference in corner entry and stability on this bike. So I've cut out the side number plates to open up the airbox and allow more volume of air to get in there. It helps with just getting more airflow with all these other bikes that we test. We're always talking about drilling holes, making ways to get more air into it. So this was my way of doing that on the Suzuki. Normally with the stock number plates, there's a white piece of plastic that is a continuation of this grab hole here that sticks out just about to that air filter cage. Without that, obviously, get your hand in there, get your air filter in and out a lot easier, and take less risk of having to turn it sideways and upside down and dropping stuff into your airbox. Alright, so we got our twin air box cover in, replace our air filter so we can clean out the air box real good, get everything all clean, any dirt and grime, everything out of there. We got our exhaust plug, and we got the bike all foamed up with the Maxima foam cannon and the solution. So now we're gonna scrub the frame with our handy dandy Scotch-Brite. And yeah, so let's get started. Okay, so I start off with the top part of the frame. It's kind of a more smooth finish. Down here is more coarse. So up here I just go this way. That way all the lines come out really nice. So you're not going this way and leaving lines all the way up the shiny part. But down here I go sideways like this, just because it's coarse. Just keeps that grip, and the coarseness of the frame doesn't wear it off or make it smooth. So there's two different ways I like to scrub the frame. Up here I go this way with the grain, as they say, if it was wood. This way against the grain to get that shine and get all the boot marks off and keep your frame looking nice. You always want to make sure your Kickstarter's clean. Nobody likes a dirty Kickstarter, and when you need it. Alright, another quick tip is Maxima chain cleanup. It's designed to get all the chain lube, all the dirt and everything out of the chain, but this is what I do for it. I sprayed on everything. It gets all the dirt and grime. Look at the grime running off the motor right there. Just oozing off, and it gives it a nice clean finish. You'll go through about a can of wash, but it's well worth it.
All right, Brian, we have a lot of bikes in the MXA barn. You're an MXA test rider. You had the option to ride a lot of different brands, but why do you keep choosing Suzuki?
Suzuki always has a soft spot in my heart. Growing up as a kid, the only dealership that we had on Kauai at the time was a Suzuki dealership. So I've been on them since 2010, on and off, but started off my big bikes riding on a Suzuki. Always felt really comfortable on them. As we know, I'm not the fastest of the bunch, or come from the most money, or just have raw talent. So I wanted to pick a bike that I felt comfortable on, that I could do well on, and draw more attention to me to make it more appealing for people to want to help me and want to sponsor me. It's been awesome. Like I have people come up to me at the track all the time and ask them, so how is it? How really is it? What's your honest opinion? And I tell them every time it's the most underrated bike in the class.
Yeah. And because you're the only one with a Kickstarter, because it's the heaviest, because it's the slowest, people are always going to bag on it. But you keep choosing it.
Yep. Yeah, I've built up a number of spare parts over the years, and Jody keeps letting me ride these things, and Suzuki helps me out when they can. So, yep, I'm going to keep riding yellow for as long as I can.
There you have it, Suzuki RM-Z450. Is it worth the money? Can you actually save money by buying this bike? The answer is yes, as long as you spend your money wisely on the parts that you need to upgrade. Of course, the suspension does need work on this bike, but everything else, durable, long-lasting. If you want to upgrade your bike, Brian really likes the ride engineering triple clamps and that link arm on the linkage. RM-Z450, good times. Thank you guys for watching this video. Also, we did a test on Ken Roxon's race bike. He won Indianapolis Supercross last year. He won Glendale Supercross this year. He's currently 5th in the standings in the 450 class, and he's on a Suzuki. I was surprised how stock that bike was. Both of us rode it. You can check out the video and the article on our website. Thank you guys for watching. See you in the next one.